Some of the greatest football players who ever lived were never even eligible to win the sport's most prestigious individual award. Not because they weren't good enough, not because voters overlooked them, because a rule, quietly written into the award's own criteria, made it structurally impossible for them to ever be considered at all. We're talking about the Ballon d'Or, the trophy that gets treated as the definitive answer to who's the best player in the world. Every year, debates rage about who deserves it, who got snubbed, who was underrated by voters. But almost nobody talks about the award's original rule, the one that quietly excluded most of the planet's football talent for nearly 4 decades. When the Ballon d'Or launched in 1956, it wasn't actually a World's Best Player award. It was created by a European football magazine, and the eligibility rule reflected that completely. Only European players were eligible to win it, not European-based players, European by nationality. If you weren't a citizen of a European country, it didn't matter how dominant you were on the pitch, you simply were not eligible to be voted for. Let that sink in for a second. This wasn't a minor technicality buried in fine print. It was the entire foundation of the award for 39 years. Think about who that excluded. Brazil produced some of the most electrifying attacking talent football has ever seen throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Didn't matter. Ineligible. Argentina developed generational playmakers during that same stretch. Ineligible. Some of the most dominant, sport-defining players from South America simply could not win the award that history now treats as the definitive record of football greatness because of where they were born, not how they played. This creates a genuinely strange problem when people today try to use the Ballon d'Or as historical proof of who the greatest players of certain eras were. For nearly 4 decades, the award wasn't measuring the best player in the world. It was measuring the best European player in the world, while a huge portion of the sport's talent pool was locked out by definition before a single vote was even cast. So why did it take so long to change? Part of it was simply the era. Global football coverage in the 50s and 60s was nowhere close to what it is today. Voters, who were largely European journalists, had limited access to consistently watching South American or African leagues and national teams play. The award reflected the visibility European journalists actually had, not necessarily a deliberate attempt to exclude anyone. But visibility bias and eligibility rules are 2 very different things, and this was a hard rule, not a soft bias. The rule finally changed in 1995. That year, the award's eligibility expanded to include any player, regardless of nationality, as long as they played for a European club. This was a big shift, but notice it still wasn't a truly global criteria yet. It was tied to playing in Europe, not to nationality anymore. It took until 2007 for the award to fully open up to any player in the world, playing anywhere, regardless of nationality or which league they competed in. So here's the timeline that most fans have never actually connected. For 39 years, only European nationals were eligible. For 12 more years after that, you had to be playing in a European club to even be considered. It wasn't until 2007, just over a decade before more recent Ballon d'Or races, that fans obsess over today, that the award finally became a true global competition open to literally anyone on the planet. This completely reframes how you should look at all-time greatest debates that use Ballon d'Or counts as evidence. When someone points to a low Ballon d'Or count for a legendary player from the 50s, 60s, 70s, or 80s as evidence they weren't truly elite, they're often ignoring that those players may have been structurally ineligible to win it in the first place, or competing under a completely different, far more restrictive set of rules than players do today. It also explains why so many South American football federations and pundits have historically treated the Ballon d'Or with a certain skepticism, even resentment. For decades, their greatest players were mathematically excluded from a trophy that the rest of the football world still treated as the ultimate individual honor. So the next time the Ballon d'Or comes up in a greatest of all time argument, remember this. The award you're citing as objective proof of greatness spent nearly 4 decades built on a rule that had nothing to do with greatness at all, and everything to do with a passport. If this changed how you look at old Ballon d'Or results, wait until you hear which other football records have a hidden rule like this buried inside them, Because this channel exists to dig up exactly that kind of thing.